Okay folks, this is Jim Bell. I've been putting together a handful of videos for various little repair projects that I've done, building a little portfolio of things that can help some other folks. I'm replacing the camshaft position timing sensor on a 2014 Chevy Impala. It's the 3.6 liter engine V6, and I'll have my videographer, my oldest daughter Katie, flip the camera over to show you the engine over here. So you see the overall layout of it, and the first and foremost thing to do is give a little background. So I've got a check engine light that's been coming on off and on for the last couple of months, and when I put the code reader on it, it says it's this camshaft timing position indicator, or sensor rather. And so I went out and bought a couple of them. It only refers to bank 1, and on this engine it's a transverse mounted V6. So there's 2 banks and there's 2 sensors, and this bank 2 and bank 1 is over here. And so I'm going to replace the second sensor for bank 1, and I think it would be called position 1 down here. So just to give you an overview, I'm going to remove this cover from the overall engine. Then I'm going to pull this power steering fluid tank off under here and set it aside so I have access down there. And then beyond that, it takes a 10mm socket wrench to remove the screw that goes into the sensor and put the new one in, and it's that easy. And then of course reverse the sequence and should be all back together. So I will remove this cover to begin with. Take the oil fuel filter cap out initially, and then this cover just pops out. It's just got a couple of little grommets underneath here that you can see, and a couple of little receptacles, little pins that it pops down over. So we're going to pull that out, set that aside. Just to speed things along, I went ahead and took most of the screws out of the tank, the power steering fluid tank. I've got the last one almost out, and I will pull that out, set it aside. Then the tank simply pops up, and I'll set it over here so it's out of the way. And then Katie, if you can come in a little closer, this is the number 2 position camshaft timing position sensor right here. And I've already replaced that one, and then the other one is back here down in this corner. So I'll be doing that next. Okay, so you can see that I've got the electrical plug pulled off. It's got a little blue tab. You can see right here on the other one, I've broke part of this cover of the electrical plug. It goes like that, and I pull that out, and it actually popped out on me, so I don't have that blue thing on this anymore, but it came off right off the top. I'm going to push that out of the way a little bit, and then I'm going to get my socket wrench and come down here and get that loosened up. And one thing to be mindful of is these 3 bolts that came out of the power steering fluid tank are their own size and length versus the one that comes out of the camshaft position sensor. Just be sure that you don't get them confused, because they are different. This is longer and has no washer built on it. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so I've actually got the bolt out of the sensor itself. I'm going to reach down here and loosen up the sensor, pull the sensor out. It comes out very easily. And that's the part that I'm going to replace. Okay, I've got the new part here, and they recommend that you put some oil around this O-ring, and so I'm getting some oil off the old one there just some residue, and I'm going to put it around this O-ring on the new one before I stick it back in. And then it's as simple as reversing the process. Okay, so the part is back in. I've got the bolt partially started. You can see it down here. I think, hopefully you can see it with my finger tip on the end of it. So I will simply screw that bolt all the way in, get it started by hand, and then I'll put the wrench on it. Okay, so I've got the sensor in. I've got the bolt bolted down good. You don't want to tighten it too much. It's all a plastic housing, so just get it a little past finger tight, and you should be good to go from there. Then I simply take this plug it back in over the top of it. It snaps, kind of retains itself down there, and that is replacement of the part. Then I'll put the power steering fluid tank back on. And by the way, just in case I didn't say it earlier, you're using a 10mm socket for all of this, and I do have an extension that I used for these top tank pieces, these two, and then I took the extension off and used it for the ones that are in tighter spaces. So that's the deal, and I will put these back in, but you see the size of them. I won't waste time on the video showing how to put them back in, because that should be really easy and clear. So okay folks, so got the tank bolted back on, just as with the other ones. These are plastic housing clips, so you don't need to tighten these down too much. Just get them a little bit past, about a quarter of a turn past hand tight, and they should be fine. Again, used a 10mm socket. This is the part number of the BWD brand, in case you want to know a part number. It can usually be cross-referenced in any of the auto parts systems with this. There's 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, and 4 back there, and they're all the same exact part, so you don't need 4 different part numbers. So I will continue to put this back together and show you the final result. So that's the end result. Cover panel is back on the engine, then put this oil filter cap back on, and the project is complete. Again, it's a 10mm socket wrench. That's all you need. And if you want to work around this hose, you might be able to do it without pulling the power steering fluid tank off and setting it aside, but there's nothing to that if you want to make it a little easier on yourself. All right folks, that's it. See you next time.